Secrets of Coins, revealing the rare coins in history, disclosed.
The Beatles had just landed in America. Cassius Clay, later Muhammad Ali, shocked the world by defeating Sonny Liston. The Civil Rights Act was signed into law, and it was also the final year that the United States struck quarters in 90% silver for everyday circulation. That year, millions of 1964 quarters poured out of the Philadelphia and Denver mints, but there's one mint that sparks mystery in the San Francisco Mint. Collectors know this coin as the 64S Washington quarter. Basics of the coin. The 1964 quarter weighs 6.25 grams. It has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters. It's made of 90% silver and 10% copper, which gives it about 0.18 troy ounces of pure silver. The obverse shows John Flanagan's portrait of George Washington. Liberty runs across the top. In God We Trust sits to the left, and the date 1964 rests at the bottom. On the reverse, a powerful eagle spreads its wings over arrows of defense and olive branches of peace. United States of America e pluribus unum. And quarter dollar are clearly spelled out. For most collectors, that's where the story ends. But the 1964S changes everything. Mintages. Here's the key. Philadelphia struck 560 million quarters in 1964. Denver made over 704 million quarters. But the San Francisco Mint in 1964 had already stopped producing circulating coinage. So why do we talk about a 1964S quarter? The truth is, the San Francisco Mint only struck proof coins in 1964. These were special, mirror-like pieces made for collectors, not for general circulation. Every single one of them carries an S mint mark below the wreath on the reverse. The official mintage was about 3.9 million proof sets, and within those sets sits the 1964S proof quarter. Value and prices. Let's break down the values. A typical 1964S proof quarter is worth $10 to $20, mostly for silver and collector demand. But a proof 65 coin with strong mirrors and no major marks usually sells for $25 to $40. Deep cameo examples, where both sides show strong contrast between frosted devices and mirrored fields, can bring $200 to $500. The finest proof 69 deep cameos certified by PCGS or NGC have sold for $7,000 to $10,000 at major auctions. So while many 1964S quarters are affordable, the rarest and most beautiful examples can bring serious money. Errors and varieties. Proof coins aren't supposed to have errors, but they do. Collectors have found double dies, especially on the obverse lettering. Cameo strength variations where one side has heavy frost but the other is weak. These partial cameos are scarcer. Striking anomalies like dye polish lines or frost breaks, which can raise interest. Even a minor double die on a 1964S proof quarter can sell for hundreds of dollars. Historical context. The year 1964 is pivotal in U.S. coinage. It marked the end of an era. Silver prices were rising. By 1965, the mint had switched quarters to a copper-nickel-clad composition, and silver was gone from circulation. This made the 1964 coins, including the quarter, the last circulating silver coinage of the United States. For collectors, that makes 1964 quarters extra nostalgic. They represent the end of silver in everyday pocket change. And the San Francisco proof issue adds another layer of meaning. It was the last time silver proof quarters were struck until modern commemoratives decades later. Finding them today. So how do you find a 1964S quarter? They only come from proof sets. If you see a loose one, chances are it was broken out of its original packaging. Many coin shops sell proof singles, often in protective holders. Estate sales sometimes have old proof sets tucked away in drawers. Online auctions are another common place to find them, but be sure to check for cameo designations. Selling tips. If you want to sell a 1964S proof quarter, average examples without strong cameo contrast are best sold, individually or as part of proof sets. Higher grade cameo and deep cameo examples should be submitted to PCGS or NGC. Grading can multiply the value. Top-end pieces belong at major auction houses, where collectors compete fiercely for them. The big takeaway: the 1964S Washington quarter isn't just another silver coin. It's a proof-only issue that marked the very end of silver in American circulating coinage. Most examples are worth a modest amount. But superb cameo proofs, especially those graded PR69 Deep Cameo, can bring thousands of dollars. It's a coin that ties directly to one of the most important shifts in U.S. coinage history, the move away from silver. So the next time you see a 1964 quarter, check closely. If it has an S mint mark and mirror-like proof fields, you may be holding a piece of numismatic history, one that shines with silver. And with the story of America in 1964, it was the middle of the swinging 60s. The Beatles were topping charts. The Vietnam War was escalating. Gas cost about 32 cents a gallon, and movie tickets averaged $1.25. In the pockets of Americans, quarters were changing forever. This was the year of the 1966 Washington quarter, a coin that looks simple but represents a major turning point in U.S. coinage history. Basics of the coin. The 1966 quarter weighs 5.67 grams. Its diameter is 24.3 millimeters. Its composition is copper-nickel clad over a pure copper core. No silver at all. This was only the second year of the new clad coinage. The switch happened in 1965, when the government removed silver from quarters and dimes due to rising silver prices and a coin shortage. The obverse still shows John Flanagan's portrait of George Washington, with liberty above and God we trust to the left, and the date 1966 below. The reverse features the eagle design we know well, wings outstretched, perched on arrows with olive branches below, United States of America and E pluribus unum above, and quarter dollar at the bottom. Now here's something unusual. In 1965, 1966, and 1967, no mint marks were used at all. That means you won't see a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco on these quarters. Every coin looks the same no matter where it was struck. Mintage. The mintage for the 1966 quarter was huge. Over 821 million coins were produced. That makes it a common date in most grades. But condition and errors are where the real value lies. Values and prices. Let's break it down. Circulated examples are worth 25 cents, face value. Uncirculated coins in Mint State 63 grade usually sell for $1 to $3. Mint State 65 examples can bring $10 to $20. High-grade Mint State 67 coins may sell for $100 to $300. The finest known examples, graded MS 68, have reached $2,000 to $3,000 at major auctions. So while most 1966 quarters are pocket change, the rarest gems are highly desirable to registry collectors. Errors and varieties. Here's where things get exciting. The 1966 quarter has several valuable error types. Double dies. Some show strong doubling on the date or lettering. These can sell for $100 to $500 depending on strength. Full brockages, where one side is fully impressed with a mirror image. Extremely rare, often bringing thousands. Off-center strikes depending on how far off. These can bring $50 to several $100s. Struck on wrong planches. A few 1966 quarters were mistakenly struck on leftover silver dime or foreign coin planches. These are extremely rare and can sell for $5,000 to $10,000 or more. Because minting was rushed during the mid-1960s coin shortage, error coins from this era are more common than usual, and that gives collectors lots to chase. Historical context. The 1966 quarter is more than just a coin. It represents the end of silver money in everyday life. For decades, quarters had been 90% silver. But by the mid-1960s, the value of silver was rising close to the coin's face value. People were hoarding silver quarters, dimes, and half dollars. To stop the shortage, the Mint introduced copper-nickel-clad coins starting in 1965. That's why your 1966 quarter contains no silver. It was part of the new era of sandwich coins with copper showing along the edge. Collectors weren't happy at first. Many preferred silver coins, and the government even banned mint marks from 1965 through 1967 to discourage hoarding of specific issues. But over time, the clad quarter became the standard, and the 1966 quarter marks the early days of that transition. How to find them? So where can you find a 1966 quarter today? They're still in circulation, but most are worn. Coin rolls from banks may still yield uncirculated examples. Mint sets and specially packaged government sets often contain high-quality strikes. Error examples must usually be found at coin shows, auctions, or online dealers. Selling tips. If you own a 1966 quarter, circulated pieces are only worth face value. Mint state. Coins should be checked for high grades. Anything MS67 or higher may be worth certifying with PCGS or NGC. Errors are the real winners. Always authenticate them with a grading service before selling. For rare wrong planche errors or MS68 gems, auction houses like Heritage or Stax Bowers are the best route. The big takeaway: the 1966 Washington quarter might look ordinary, but it represents a dramatic turning point in American coinage. It was one of the very first clad quarters, ending the long tradition of silver and pocket change. Most are worth little more than face value, but rare high-grade coins and dramatic mint errors can sell for hundreds, thousands, or even more than $10,000. So the next time you see a 1966 quarter, don't overlook it. It may be a common coin, or it may be a rare error or high-grade survivor from the early days of America's clad coinage. That's the story of the 1966 Washington quarter, a small piece of change with a big place in history. Perfect. The 1776-1976 Washington quarter, better known as the bicentennial quarter, is one of the most famous U.S. coins. I'll give you a full, plain 10-minute voiceover script that tells the story, explains values, and keeps viewers hooked. A new nation declared its independence. The United States of America was born. 200 years later, in 1976, the nation celebrated its bicentennial, and the U.S. Mint honored that milestone with a brand new quarter design. The 1776-1976 bicentennial quarter remains one of the most popular coins ever made. Still found in pocket change today. But some are worth far more than face value. Basics of the coin. The bicentennial quarter was struck for circulation in both 1975 and 1976. Instead of showing the date 1975 or 1976, every coin carries a dual date, 1776-1976. The obverse still shows George Washington's portrait by John Flanagan. Liberty runs across the top. In God We Trust is to the left. And the dual date 1776-1976 sits at the bottom. The reverse is the real star. For the first time since 1932, the Mint changed the design. The eagle was replaced by a special image created by Jack L.R., a colonial drummer with a victory torch encircled by 13 stars. It's a patriotic design that marks the 200th birthday of the United States. The coin weighs 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters, and most are clad in a pure copper core with copper-nickel layers. But some special issues were struck in 40% silver. Mintage. The Mint made a massive number of bicentennial quarters between Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Over 1.6 billion circulation strikes were produced. On top of that, San Francisco made millions of proof coins, both in clad and in 40% silver, sold to collectors. That means most bicentennial quarters are common, but certain high-grade or special versions are worth much more. Values and prices. Let's break it down. Circulating clad quarters and the ones you still find in change and are generally worth 25 cents, but condition changes everything. In Mint State 65, they can sell for $5 to $10. In Mint State 67, values jump to $100 or more. Superb MS68. Examples have sold for $1,000 to $3,000 at auction. 1976 D quarters from Denver are more common than Philadelphia coins, but high-grade pieces are still valuable. Proof bicentennial quarters from San Francisco. Standard clad proofs are worth $2 to $5. Cameo proofs bring $10 to $20. Deep cameo proofs can reach $50 to $100, with the finest graded examples selling for hundreds of dollars. 40% silver bicentennial quarters are the big prize. These were sold in special sets. Each is worth $4 to $6 just for silver content. In Proof 69 Deep Cameo, they can bring $200 to $500. The highest graded silver examples have reached 2,000 to 3,000 at auction. Errors and varieties. Now let's look at errors and varieties that can turn a bicentennial quarter into a jackpot. Double dies exist, especially on the obverse date and lettering. These can sell for $100 to $500 depending on strength. Off-center strikes are collectible and can bring $50 to $300. Wrong planche errors, where a bicentennial design was struck on a dime or foreign planche, are extremely rare and can sell for thousands of dollars. Striking anomalies like broad strikes, die cracks, or clipped planches also exist, with values ranging from $25 to several $100s. Historical context. The bicentennial celebration in 1976 was huge. Parades, fireworks, and tall ship events filled cities across the country. Millions of Americans proudly used the new coins, which included the special bicentennial designs for the quarter, half dollar and dollar. For many, the bicentennial quarter wasn't just pocket change, it was a keepsake. Families put them aside, creating jars and rolls that are still found today. And there's something symbolic about it. A coin that literally says, connecting the birth of the nation to the present. How to find them? If you want to hunt for bicentennial quarters, start with pocket change and they still circulate. Check bank rolls, where uncirculated examples sometimes show up. Visit flea markets, estate sales, and coin shows. For silver versions, look in original proof or mint sets. Selling tips. If you plan to sell common circulated quarters, spend fine as face value or in bulk lots. High-grade uncirculated coins should be certified by PCGS or NGC. Proofs with strong cameo contrast are worth grading. Rare silver proofs in high-end MS-68 coins do best at major auctions like Heritage, Stax Bowers, or Great Collections. The big takeaway. The 1776-1976 bicentennial quarter is one of the most beloved US coins. Most are common and worth face value, but in top condition, or in silver, or with dramatic errors, they can bring hundreds, even thousands of dollars. It's not just about money. This coin captures a moment when the nation celebrated its 200th birthday. A design of a drummer boy, a symbol of the revolution marching into history. So the next time you see one, don't just pass it along. Hold it, remember 1776, and know that the bicentennial quarter is both a coin of America's past and a keepsake for its future. That's the story of the 1776-1976 Washington quarter. The United States was in crisis. The Great Depression was hitting families hard. Jobs were disappearing. Bread lines stretched across city streets. And yet in the middle of this hardship, the U.S. Mint introduced a brand new design, the Washington quarter. It was meant to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, the nation's first president. But what the Mint didn't realize at the time was that the very first year of this new quarter would create one of the most valuable coins in American history. Among them, the 1932 Washington quarter stands out as a true rarity. Today, it is one of the keys to the entire Washington quarter series. Basics of the coin. Let's start with the design. The obverse shows a portrait of George Washington, sculpted by John Flanagan. Washington faces left with liberty above. In God We Trust on the left side, and the date 1932 at the bottom. On the reverse, we see a bold eagle with wings spread, clutching arrows and resting on olive branches, a symbol of both strength and peace. United States of America arcs across the top, with the denomination $quarter at the bottom. The coin is made of 90% silver and 10% copper, weighs 625 grams, and measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter. The mint mark, a small S for San Francisco, is located just below the wreath on the reverse. Mintage and rarity. Now here's the detail that makes this coin so special. In 1932, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 5.4 million quarters. The Denver Mint struck only 436,800 quarters. But the San Francisco Mint, just 408,000 quarters were made. That makes the 1932 the second lowest mintage in the entire Washington quarter series, only slightly higher than the 1932 D. Think about it. At a time when millions of Americans were scraping for every cent, only 408,000 of these quarters were struck. Most entered circulation immediately, and they were used heavily. That's why finding high-grade examples today is such a challenge. Value and auction records. Now let's talk about what collectors really want to know. How much is it worth? A heavily worn 1932S still sells for $100 to $200. Lightly circulated examples in very fine or extremely fine grades go for $300 to $600. In about uncirculated condition, values rise to around $800 to $200. In mint state 63, expect $2,500 to $2,000. A sharp MS-65 coin can sell for $5,000 to $7,000. And the finest known examples, graded MS-66 and above, have sold for $20,000 to $40,000 at auction. For example, one PCGS graded MS-66 brought nearly $40,000 at a heritage auction when proving that this quarter is truly a blue-chip coin for collectors. Condition rarity. What makes this coin even tougher is condition. Circulated examples are available, but mint state pieces are much harder to come by. The San Francisco Mint didn't produce coins with the same sharp strikes as Philadelphia. Bag marks and weak details are common. So when collectors see a coin with full detail, bright luster and minimal marks, they bid aggressively. That's why prices skyrocket at the highest grades. Errors and varieties. Now, while the 1932S isn't famous for dramatic varieties like doubled dies, a few collectible errors exist. Minor repunched mint marks where the S was punched more than once. Off-center strikes where the design isn't aligned correctly. Clipped planchets where part of the coin's edge is missing. Because the base coin itself is already rare, any error makes it even more desirable, sometimes doubling or tripling its value. Historical context. Let's pause for the history. The Washington quarter wasn't just another coin. It replaced the standing Liberty quarter, which had been struck since 1916, and the mint originally intended the Washington design to be temporary, just for 1932, to honor Washington's 200th birthday. But the design proved so popular that it became permanent. And nearly a century later, Washington is still on the quarter. The 1932S then isn't just a coin. It's the very beginning of America's most widely used denomination. It represents the start of the Washington quarter legacy. How to find one? So how do you get your hands on a 1932S? Realistically, you won't find one in pocket change today, but there are still ways. Estate sales, where old family coin jars sometimes surface. Local coin shops, where dealers keep key dates for serious collectors. National coin shows, where high-grade certified examples appear. Online auctions like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections. And always look for certified coins from PCGS or NGC. With so many counterfeits around, authentication is critical for a coin this valuable. Selling tips. If you own one, even a worn example is worth money. Don't spend it as a quarter. If your coin looks uncirculated, consider professional grading. A certified MS coin can be worth tens of thousands. For high-end pieces go through major auction houses. They reach the biggest audience of collectors willing to pay top dollar. The big closer. The 1932S Washington quarter is more than just silver. It's history. It's survival in the Depression. It's the very beginning of the Washington series. With a tiny mintage of just 408,000, it has become one of the most important and valuable quarters ever made. From $100 in worn condition to nearly $40,000 in mint state, it remains a treasure that collectors dream of owning. So if you ever come across a 1932 quarter, check the reverse. If there's a little S beneath the wreath, you may be holding one of America's greatest numismatic rarities. And that is the story of the 1932S Washington quarter.